Now there are various forces that affect the how much filtrate you make and how much fluid you make at the renal corpuscle. So there are many different pressures, but we're going to talk about these in general. So there are four main pressures that lead to something called net filtration pressure. And you might be, if you remember exam 2 and our vessel hemodynamics, you might remember that net filtration pressure involves filtration and reabsorption. Same thing pays off here. All right, so then we have our filtration. So what does filtration mean? Again, you're moving something from the inside of a blood vessel, pushing it toward the outer regions outside of the blood vessel. So what drives it in the capillaries? Well, you might remember something called capillary hydrostatic pressure. And what did that do? Well, again, this is the pressure inside the vessels that's forcing water out from the inside of the vessel toward the outside of the vessel. So that's what's happening with capillary hydrostatic pressure, and what filters through are small things can filter through, including water, but big things like large proteins and cells, they stay in the blood vessel. This principle still applies to the glomerulus. So with hydrostatic pressure, this is some sort of pressure inside an enclosed space. So in the capillaries, it's capillary hydrostatic pressure. In the glomerulus is an enclosed space, but when you have pressure inside the glomerulus, inside those special capillaries and forcing blood and or not forcing blood, forcing water and other solutes from the glomerulus, that's glomerular hydrostatic pressure. So what we have here is a cross section of here, and again, hydrostatic pressure moves. It's the pressure inside that enclosed space, but due to that pressure inside the enclosed space, it's going to try to force things out of that space. And that's what happens here. So it moves water outside of a space. That's what I'm getting at here. And when you have glomerular hydrostatic pressure, what is that doing? So what it's going to do is that's the pressure inside the glomerulus, and then it's going to force water out from the glomerulus into the surrounding Bowman's capsule. And that's what we see in this first part right here. So here we have a cross section of the glomerulus, this little capillary over here, and the surrounding capsule. So remember, the glomerular hydrostatic pressure, this is the pressure inside here. As this pressure inside here is going to force water and solutes out from the glomerulus. So this is why it's called GHP. So it's very similar to CHP when we talked about capillary hydrostatic pressure, but now it's that special capillary we call a glomerulus. And then what we have here is a capsular hydrostatic pressure, or an abbreviated. Now it's not just plain CHP, it's C small s HP. So it's trying to kind of like differentiate between capillary hydrostatic pressure and capsular hydrostatic pressure. So what is the capsular hydrostatic pressure? Well, remember, hydrostatic pressure, enclosed space, and the pressure of the liquid inside that space is going to force water and solutes out from that space. So what we have here is the glomerulus, but the capsular hydrostatic pressure, well, you also have fluid that's already inside the glomerular capsule or Bowman's capsule. So the water that's already there is actually going to push back. So it's not like a one-way door. So whatever water that's already existing in the capsule, it's kind of like if you're trying in the before times, soon, or hopefully the soon times, if you ever try to go from from one room and try to enter a already crowded room, and the people in there, it's very hard to kind of push into your way into a place that's already crowded, right? So same thing with the Bowman's capsule. There is fluid and water already in the Bowman's capsule. That fluid and water that's already existing in the capsule, it will push back a little back into the glomerular capillary. Or similar, if you remember preload and afterload, it's kind of like afterload but at the nephron. So what happens is that the water already inside the capsules is going to push back. So whatever water is here is going to push back and cause oppose the forces that are trying to move water from the glomerulus into the capsule. So this force is going to push back and back into the glomerulus. Now what happens here? Well, the thing is that glomerular hydrostatic pressure, the pressure here, remember you have that heart pumping blood everywhere in your body, so that's the big force driving this glomerular hydrostatic pressure. You do have pressure pushing back from the water and salt water already in here, but glomerular hydrostatic pressure under normal conditions and in a healthy kidney is going to win out because why? Well, do you want your filtrate and what's supposed to be your urine going back into your bloodstream? Not really, right? So you want to filter your blood and try to get rid of your waste and metabolic waste into your urine, right? So this is why glomerular hydrostatic pressure should win out.